I am Alan Shreve. I'm the founder and CEO of Ngrok. I am incontrovertible on the internet if you want to follow me on Twitter. And like all talks about Ngrok, all of the things here are live. So if you want to get your laptops out and follow along, all the URLs here are like running on my machine essentially at the moment. So we're going to start with your HTTP server. Most Gophers have written an HTTP server that looks roughly like this one as part of like learning how to write in Go. And it is a pretty simple one. It says, hello GopherCon, and it's listening on port 8080 on my local machine. You all can't access it, of course, but just to point out like exactly where we're looking, like this is the place where we're like listening on a port, right? And then the rest of the code there is about handling the HTTP requests that come in. Let's put that on the internet. So you import a new library that we've written, and you call start tunnel. You tell it the domain that you want to listen on, in this case, gophercon.demo.ngrok.io. And if you fire that up right now, you will actually access this code that is running right now. Then we're just substituting in the tunnel object where the listener would be, and that HTTP server is now listening on the public internet. This is more powerful than just like allowing you to listen on a local port, right? Or sorry, on something that used to be local. It's more powerful than just the connectivity. You can also like add functionality in front of whatever it is that you're writing. So for example, you could say, hello, I would like to put OAuth in front of my application, and I would like you to use Google OAuth when you do. So there's another demo running, which is exactly this piece. If you want to go to gophercon-google-demo.ngrok.io, and when you try to go to that website, it will prompt you to log in with Google. And once you log in, it will let you in. The other neat thing about it, I guess I didn't show you on this slide, is down at the bottom, we also modified it where it tells you basically all the information about the OAuth user that identified in headers to your upstream application. Same thing if you wanted to GitHub or any other kind of OAuth provider, you just ask it for that. Do you want to download all of the code that were on these slides? I have a HTTP file server that is running, that basically is running in the same directory as all of the files that you've seen in this demo so far. So if you go to gophercon-fileserver-demo.ngrok.io, you'll be able to download and see all of the files in that directory right now, and just pull them right out. What just happened? What's going on is that library in your application is reaching out to our cloud service, which then reaches out to all of our points of presence around the world. And it basically says to the cloud service, I want to listen on this particular domain, and I want to maybe like add the circuit breaking or add OAuth or whatever kind of authentication you want, basic auth, something like that. You can instruct the reverse proxy basically to do whatever you'd like. When applications come in, this is like the accept call on the tunnel object. They are coming in through our points of presence and then being sent through that same connection that library in your application established to our global service. What we did is we essentially turned Ngrok into a globally distributed ingress proxy packaged as a net listener in your application. So the way you get it is you import github.com/ngrok/ngrok-go, and there is one essentially like major API that you need inside of it, which is to start a tunnel. You saw that in the demos where you pass it a context and some things that you want to happen in front of the endpoint that you're hosting on the internet. And then you can put a whole bunch of different like pieces of middleware essentially like in front of it. But again, all of those pieces of middleware are being pushed out to our global edge where the reverse proxy is running. And the last piece that I mentioned, right, is that the tunnel is a net listener, which means that you can plug it into any software that uses a net listener. For example, you could plug it into Hugo, for example, with this patch that I wrote, which is about 8 lines of code, 8, 10, something like that, where you should be able to see all of it, where it just, instead of listening on the local port, it adds a new option to the Hugo server, which is the domain that you want it to listen on, and then it listens on that domain using this SDK. So I have this running in another tab on my terminal in my machine, which is serving a Hugo website, which has the patch. So if you all want to go to, what is it? GopherCon-Hugo-Demo gopher.ngrok.io, you can pull up the patch and that Hugo instance that's running on my local machine here. That's it. If you want to access any of the code that was written and you didn't happen to pull it out of that URL, it is all sitting on my GitHub on github.com/inconceivable/GopherCon-2022. Thank you all.